executives freeze, then erupt in laughter-sharp, cruel around the gleaming mahogany table. Golden afternoon light streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the dark stain spreading across her chest like a target. Selena's expression remains carved from stone as she slowly dabs at her ruined designer suit, worth more than William's monthly car payment. "Perhaps she's confused," William's father adds, leaning forward with a predatory smile. "The service entrance is downstairs, my dear." Selena's phone illuminates with a message. "Confirmed. $5 billion acquisition, ready for your signature." She turns it face down with deliberate calm, her gaze never leaving William's smirking face as his father raises another champagne flute in mock toast. They laugh now, unaware she holds the power to destroy everything they own. 3 hours earlier, Selena Jenkins pulls her modest electric sedan into the visitor parking space at Whitmore Industries Tower. The gleaming glass monolith rises 60 stories into the Manhattan skyline, a testament to old money and older privilege. She straightens her tailored navy suit, checks her reflection in the rearview mirror, and steps out into the bright morning sunshine. The security guards at the executive entrance eye her with immediate suspicion. The taller one steps forward, blocking her path. "Delivery entrance is around back, ma'am," he says, not bothering to hide his dismissive glance. Selena pulls out her visitor pass. "I have an appointment with William Whitmore. Acquisition meeting, 4th floor boardroom." The guards exchange looks. "You'll want the service elevator," the second guard suggests. "Executive elevators are for executives," Selena finishes. "I'm aware. I'd like to see your visitor policy, please." The guard frowns, then radios his supervisor. After a tense minute, the supervisor arrives and confirms her appointment. The guards reluctantly step aside, their faces tight with disapproval. Meanwhile, in the boardroom, William Whitmore III adjusts his Italian silk tie while his father, William Whitmore II, pours himself a morning scotch. "This diversity investment firm," the elder Whitmore says, swirling his drink. "They're overpaying by at least $1 billion. Idiots." William laughs. "They want to look progressive. We're offloading a failing division and getting praised for our inclusivity. Pure genius." "In my day," his father mutters, "we didn't have to entertain these people in our boardroom." The elevator doors open on the executive floor. Selena approaches the receptionist, who barely glances up before saying, "Janitorial services sign in at basement level." "I'm Selena Jenkins, here for the acquisition meeting." The receptionist laughs, thinking it's a joke. Only after Selena produces her identification and meeting confirmation does the woman's smile fade. She makes a hurried call. In the boardroom, William's face sours as he takes the call. "Some woman claiming to be from Jenkins Capital is here," he repeats incredulously. "Fine, send her up." As Selena follows the flustered receptionist down the hallway, she notices the photos lining the walls, the Whitmore family at exclusive country clubs, political fundraisers, and yacht parties. One photo catches her eye. William shaking hands with Senator Goldman, chair of the Financial Oversight Committee. Selena touches the recording device hidden in her watch, her face revealing nothing. First impressions often reveal the most damning truths, and her recorder captures everything. Selena steps into the boardroom. Conversation dies instantly. 12 pairs of eyes lock onto her. 11 men, 1 woman, all white, all wealthy, all surprised. William recovers first, rising halfway from his chair at the head of the table and looking past her toward the door. "You must be Ms. Jenkins's assistant?" he asks, his smile condescending. "I'm Selena Jenkins, CEO of Jenkins Capital." She extends her hand, voice steady as a surgeon's. The temperature in the room seems to plummet. William's hand hangs suspended for a moment before he takes hers with visible reluctance. Of course," William's father chuckles nervously. "We just expected." "Someone else," Selena finishes for him, taking the empty seat directly across from William. Shall we discuss the Eastbrook Division acquisition? She opens her leather portfolio and pulls out detailed performance reports. Your prospectus indicates 15% growth potential, but your own quarterly filings suggest -3%. Can you explain the discrepancy? William blinks, then interrupts before any executives can answer. The growth metrics are forward-looking based on projected market shifts. He speaks slowly, emphasizing each syllable. Business valuation can be quite complex. Several executives exchange glances. The lone woman at the table, her nameplate reads Patricia Reynolds, Operations Director Studies. Her notepad intently, a flush creeping up her neck. Complex, yes, Selina agrees, flipping through more documents. Like your employee retention numbers, your public reports claim 80%, but the exit interviews filed with the Department of Labor suggest closer to 40%. William's smile hardens. Perhaps we're getting too deep into the weeds. He claps his hands once. These technical details can wait. Let's not bore our guest. He snaps his fingers at his assistant hovering near the door. Champagne, please. We're celebrating new partnerships today. The assistant scurries out as William leans toward Selina. Jenkins Capital is new to acquisitions of this scale, correct? Primarily focused on diversity initiatives? We manage $52 billion in assets across multiple sectors, Selina replies evenly. Impressive, William says without conviction. And what made you interested in our little division? Surely there are more suitable opportunities for your specific focus. The champagne arrives. William makes a show of accepting the first glass, then pauses. Do you drink champagne, Ms. Jenkins? Or would you prefer something else? His eyes flick to the water pitcher. As William raises his glass for a toast, his smirk promises the real humiliation is yet to come. To new partnerships, William announces, raising his flute. The executives follow suit, a forest of crystal rising in unison. Selina notices her glass is the only one not filled. The server hovers uncertainly until William waves him away. Oh, I'm so sorry, William says with exaggerated concern. Did they miss you? He stands, champagne in hand, and moves to Selina's side. Allow me to correct this oversight. He reaches for the bottle, makes a show of pouring, then stumbles, sending champagne cascading down Selina's blouse. Gasps and poorly disguised laughter ripple through the room. How clumsy of me, William says, offering his pocket square with mock concern. Designer silk, isn't it? Such a shame. Selina accepts the cloth, dabbing at the stain with measured composure. Accidents happen, she says, her voice betraying nothing. William Sr. clears his throat. We have a little tradition at Whitmore Industries. To lighten the mood, each guest shares an amusing anecdote. He launches into a story about his exclusive golf club's charity tournament, where a diversity candidate couldn't tell the difference between a 9-iron and a putter. The executives contribute similar stories: private school mishaps, vacation home disasters, mistaken identities at members-only clubs, each tale carefully crafted to emphasize Selina's outsider status. The subtext is clear. You don't belong here. When Selina's turn approaches, William interrupts smoothly. Perhaps we should spare Ms. Jenkins the embarrassment. We all know diversity initiatives don't always prepare one for these social situations. Patricia Reynolds stares fixedly at her notepad, knuckles white around her pen. Actually, Selina begins, I was just recalling my days at Harvard Business School. Ah, yes, William cuts in. Affirmative action has opened so many doors. A heartwarming success story, I'm sure. Servers enter with lunch, an elaborate spread of delicacies. William gestures to Selina's plate. Have you ever tried caviar before, Ms. Jenkins? It's quite the acquired taste. He demonstrates with exaggerated movements. A small amount on the blini. That's the little pancake, then a touch of crème fraîche. Selina navigates the complicated place setting with practiced ease, her movements elegant and precise. William's smile tightens at the corners. Selina, may I call you Selina? Where do you summer? William asks between bites. The Hamptons? Martha's Vineyard? He pauses, affecting realization. Or perhaps you stay in the city during the hot months. So many do these days. Throughout the ordeal, Selina maintains perfect composure, her face a professional mask. But in flashes, when William turns away, we glimpse something in her eyes. Not hurt, but calculation. Memories surface briefly. Similar boardrooms, similar men, similar tactics throughout her career, each one a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. William grows increasingly irritated by her poise. His attempts at humiliation slide off her like water from waxed glass. He glances at his father, who gives a slight nod, encouraging escalation. Under the table, Selina's finger hovers over her phone, a contact labeled Protocol Omega, ready to be activated. The champagne on her blouse has dried to a stiff stain, but her resolve has only hardened. William prepares his next insult, unaware he's already set his own destruction in motion. "If you'll excuse me," Selina says, rising with graceful precision. "I need to freshen up." William waves dismissively. "Of course. The little girl's room is down the hall to the left. Patricia can show you." Patricia half rises, but Selina smiles. "No need. I'm sure I can find my way." The moment the boardroom door closes behind her, Selina's composed expression cracks just slightly, a glimpse of cold fury flashing across her features. She walks briskly to the restroom, checks all the stalls to ensure she's alone, then leans against the marble counter, taking one deep, controlled breath. She pulls out her phone and dials. "Marcus, initiate Protocol Omega."
"Are you sure?"
Her assistant's voice is serious. "Once we start, I'm sure. They've exceeded expectations in the worst possible way." She straightens her spine. "Begin with the financial audit, then move to the board contacts. Full background on the Whitmore's personal and professional, and alert the legal team." "On it. Stay strong, boss." Across the city, in the sleek offices of Jenkins Capital, Marcus springs into action. Calls go out to a team of serious-faced professionals. Computer screens light up with Whitmore Industries' financial records. Legal experts pull up regulatory filings. Analysts begin tracking stock movements and ownership patterns. In the Whitmore Industries boardroom, William and his father huddle in a corner, speaking in low tones. "She's maintaining her composure better than expected," the elder Whitmore mutters. "Annoying," William scoffs. "She's trying to play in the big leagues, probably rehearsed for this meeting for weeks." He straightens his tie. "But everyone breaks eventually. By the time we're done, she'll be begging to take whatever terms we offer." "The club tonight?" his father asks. "To celebrate?" "Perfect. Where people like her aren't allowed." William chuckles. "Remember when they tried to enforce that diversity membership quota? Cost us a fortune to quash that legislation." The restroom door swings open as Selina is patting her blouse dry. Patricia Reynolds slips in, checking quickly to ensure they're alone. "I'm sorry," Patricia says, her voice barely above a whisper. "They do this to everyone they don't consider. One of them." Selina studies her reflection in the mirror. "How long have you worked here, Patricia?" 15 years. I've hit the glass ceiling so many times I have permanent bruises." Patricia hesitates, then rushes forward. "That division they're selling you? It's undervalued. There are patents pending that aren't in the prospectus. Game-changing technology they're hiding from potential buyers." She slips a USB drive into Selina's hand. "Everything's here. I've been documenting everything." "Why help me?" Patricia's eyes harden. "Because I've been where you're sitting too many times." When Selina returns to the boardroom, something has shifted in her demeanor, subtle but present. A newfound confidence that makes several executives shift uncomfortably in their seats. William, oblivious, sees only what he expects to see. "Shall we discuss the actual terms?" Selina suggests, sliding back into her seat. William waves his hand dismissively. "My legal team will handle the tedious details. No need to trouble yourself with the complexities." "Of course," Selena agrees, surprisingly easily. My team has reviewed the preliminary documents. William laughs. And did your diversity legal team find any issues? Selena smiles enigmatically. Nothing we can't resolve by close of business today. Her phone buzzes. Omega in progress. T-minus 90 minutes. The clock on the wall reads 2:30 p.m. Across town, the first domino in William Whitmore's downfall has just been tipped. Let's review the contract details, says one of the executives, sliding folders around the table. William nods, but when the distribution reaches Selena, he holds up his hand. Gerald, perhaps have your assistant prepare a simplified version for Ms. Jenkins later? We should focus on the substantive discussions now. Selena pulls out her tablet. No need. I have the documents here and several questions about Section 5.3 regarding employee retention. William stands abruptly. Before we bury ourselves in paperwork, why don't I give you a tour of the facility? See what you're actually buying. His tone suggests he's offering a child a chance to ride a pony. The tour becomes a study in calculated humiliation. William leads Selena to the lowest operational floors first, bypassing the innovation labs and executive areas entirely. He gestures expansively at workers in the shipping department. This is where packages are prepared for shipment, he explains, speaking slowly as if to a kindergartner. The items go in boxes, then the boxes go on trucks. Selena nods, taking photos with her tablet. William mistakes this for touristy behavior. Would you like me to take a picture of you by our loading dock? He asks with a smirk. Something to show your family? No, thank you, Selena responds, capturing images of safety violations, blocked fire exits, missing equipment guards, expired inspection certificates. William guides her through a section where predominantly minority employees work in cramped conditions. We're quite committed to diversity here, he announces loudly enough for workers to hear. Some companies just talk about it, but we actually hire them. He lowers his voice as they pass through a door. Of course, keeping costs manageable requires certain business realities. I'm sure you understand. Selena's watch silently records his every word. Back in the boardroom, Selena's phone lights up with a message. Background check complete. Family litigation history secured. The time reads 3:15 p.m. William notices her checking her phone. I realize maintaining professionalism in business settings can be challenging for newcomers, he says, despite having checked his own device repeatedly. Perhaps we could establish a no-phone rule for the remainder of our meeting? When Selena mentions discrepancies in employee satisfaction metrics, William sighs dramatically. Let's leave the complex analysis to those with experience in the industry, shall we? The numbers can be so misleading when viewed by untrained eyes. With every condescending remark, William digs his grave deeper as Selena's phone silently collects evidence. So, Sandra, William says, deliberately using the wrong name as the meeting resumes. I believe we were discussing the preliminary terms. He catches himself with an insincere smile. I apologize, Selena. Names can be so difficult to remember. This marks the third time he's accidentally called her by the wrong name in the past 15 minutes. Selena opens a spreadsheet on her tablet. Your market projections show 16% growth next quarter, but industry analysts predict a contraction due to supply chain disruptions in Asia. How do you account for the discrepancy? William leans back, hands clasped behind his head. Well, the quaternary implications of macroeconomic vectors require advanced modeling paradigms and sophisticated algorithmic prognostication methodologies. He smiles at his colleagues. I can translate that into simpler terms if needed. The elder Whitmore chuckles, slapping the table. Business isn't what it used to be, he announces. In my day, deals were made on golf courses and in gentlemen's clubs. That's where real business happens, not in spreadsheets and presentations. He looks pointedly at Selena. But times change, don't they? Now we have all sorts of new participants. During a discussion about the division's leadership post-acquisition, William interjects, I'd strongly recommend maintaining our current management team. Some communities simply lack the necessary leadership experience for operations of this scale. Selena makes a note on her tablet without reacting, which visibly frustrates William. He expected tears, stammering, or angry outbursts, anything he could use to dismiss her. Her continued composure unnerves him. Perhaps, William suggests with growing irritation, we should discuss the real numbers once we've concluded the formalities. We wouldn't want to overwhelm anyone with the actual complexity of this transaction. Several executives shift uncomfortably. Patricia Reynolds stares intently at her water glass, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. Selena receives another text. Financial audit complete. Discrepancies documented. The time shows 4:00 p.m. I'd like to discuss your valuation methodology, Selena says, turning to the CFO. The multiples seem unusually high given the division's performance. William cuts in before the CFO can respond. Let's stick to the agreed price, shall we? We wouldn't want to confuse anyone with advanced financial concepts. He turns to his colleagues with a stage whisper. Diversity initiatives cost more than they're worth, but the PR benefits are occasionally useful. At precisely 4:15 p.m., every phone in the room except Selena's begins to vibrate with urgent messages. I believe we've covered the essentials, William announces, nodding to his assistant. Let's proceed with the formalities of the preliminary signatures. The assistant hurries forward with an elegant leather folder. William opens it with a flourish, revealing a stack of documents. Jennifer, he calls to another assistant hovering by the door, please bring Ms. Jenkins the simplified explanation document we prepared. Nay. He turns to Selena with a patronizing smile. We took the liberty of creating a more accessible version. All the legal terminology can be quite overwhelming. That won't be necessary, Selena replies, glancing at her watch. 4:30 p.m. I'm familiar with standard acquisition agreements. William laughs, the sound echoing off the boardroom's glass walls. Confidence is admirable, even when misplaced. He winks at his colleagues, several of whom now appear distinctly uncomfortable. William's father leans forward, his signet ring catching the light. Perhaps we should help our guest understand what she's getting into. He begins explaining basic acquisition concepts as if teaching a child. When one company buys another, there are certain obligations that transfer. Selena nods politely, making occasional notes while checking the time. Throughout the room, executives begin checking their phones with increasing frequency. Frowns appear. Whispered conversations break out. William ignores these warning signs, focused entirely on his performance. Jenkins Capital is one of those diversity fund things, correct? He asks, not waiting for an answer. Commendable work, truly. Though you'll probably need our guidance for years to come. The learning curve in this industry is quite steep for newcomers. Patricia Reynolds' phone rings. She excuses herself and steps into the hallway. When she returns moments later, her face has lost its color. She approaches William, attempting to whisper something urgent in his ear. Not now, Patricia. He dismisses her with an irritated wave. We're concluding our business. William pulls the preliminary contract from the folder with theatrical flair. Do you need extra time to review this, Ms. Jenkins? Or perhaps you brought someone who can help explain the terms? He slides the contract across the polished table, along with a Mont Blanc pen, sitting back with a satisfied smile. The humiliation is complete, or so he believes. Selena checks her phone one last time, 4:45 p.m., before looking up at William with the first genuine smile he's seen from her all day. The boardroom door bursts open as a team of suited professionals enters with military precision. 6 individuals enter the boardroom, 3 men, 3 women, diverse in ethnicity but uniform in their purposeful stride and impeccable attire. The executives at the table freeze, confusion evident on their faces. William half rises from his chair. Excuse me, this is a private meeting. Marcus, Selena's assistant, leads the group. Tall, poised, and unyielding, He carries a leather portfolio identical to Selena's. He hands it to her without a word, then takes a position directly behind her chair. The others arrange themselves around the perimeter of the room with practiced efficiency. Selena opens the portfolio unhurriedly. The atmosphere in the room shifts, tension climbing as the silence stretches. When she finally speaks, her voice has transformed. Gone is the accommodating, restrained tone. In its place is something commanding, authoritative, undeniable. Allow me to reintroduce myself properly. Her words slice through the tension. I'm Selena Jenkins, CEO of Jenkins Capital, majority shareholder in Whitmore Industries' parent company, and the person who approved the loan that saved this company during the recession of 2023. William's face drains of color so rapidly he appears to age a decade in seconds. His father's hand trembles, spilling his water. Jenkins Capital isn't just an investment firm, Selena continues, standing now. We manage over $50 billion in assets and hold controlling interests in more than 30% of this industry. She walks slowly around the table, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor with each deliberate step. The diversity investment firm you've been mocking all day has been quietly purchasing shares in your parent company for the past 18 months. She stops directly behind William's chair. Today wasn't about acquiring your struggling division, Mr. Whitmore. It was an assessment of your company's culture before deciding whether to approve the pending merger with your parent company or block it entirely. Selena turns to address the other executives directly. Many now look horrified, eyes darting between her and the Whitmores as the power dynamic inverts before them. I've spent the day observing how this company treats those you believe have no power over you. Her voice remains measured, each word precise. It tells me everything I need to know about how you treat your employees, your customers, and your communities. Marcus distributes documents to everyone at the table, page after page of evident safety violations photographed during the tour, accounting discrepancies highlighted in yellow, discrimination lawsuits settled quietly over years, all meticulously documented. Patricia Reynolds has been documenting your company's toxic culture for months, Selena reveals. Patricia straightens in her chair, meeting William's shocked glare without flinching. Her testimony forms a crucial part of the whistleblower case Jenkins Capital has been building. William attempts to regain control, rising to his feet. This is clearly a misunderstanding. Selena taps her watch. A recording plays through the boardroom speakers, William's voice explaining how they're offloading failing assets, and his comments about diversity hires echo in the suddenly silent room. The elder Whitmore pounds his fist on the table. You can't do this! There will be legal consequences! One of Selena's team steps forward, an older gentleman with silver hair and the bearing of someone accustomed to command. Forgive me for not introducing myself earlier. James Harrington, former Attorney General. I now head Jenkins Capital's legal division. He smiles thinly. We've assessed the legal consequences quite thoroughly. Selena picks up the contract William had slid across the table with such condescension. She holds it up, then deliberately tears it in half, placing the pieces before him. This acquisition won't be happening. Instead, Jenkins Capital will be exercising its rights as a major shareholder to call for a vote of no confidence in the current leadership. William's face contorts between rage and panic. You don't have the authority. You asked who invited me here today, Selena interrupts. The answer is your board of directors, who are currently in an emergency session reviewing the documentation we provided this morning. As if on cue, William's phone rings, the special ringtone he reserves for the board chairman. His hand shakes as he reaches for it. The blood drains further from his face as he listens to the voice on the other end. Around the table, other executives receive texts and emails, learning in real time that the power structure they've relied upon has collapsed. Some look horrified. Others appear almost relieved. Patricia Reynolds catches Selena's eye across the table. For the first time today, she allows herself a small, satisfied smile. The elder Whitmore slumps in his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 73 years, the realization dawning that his dynasty ends today. As William listens to the board chairman's verdict, he realizes this isn't just a bad day. It's the end of life as he knows it. The aftermath unfolds with the precision of a military operation. Within hours of the boardroom confrontation, Whitmore Industries transforms into ground zero of corporate upheaval. Security escorts William and his father from the building, their access badges deactivated, personal items packed in cardboard boxes, the ultimate corporate humiliation they've inflicted on countless others. The emergency board meeting continues well into the evening. Selina presents irrefutable evidence of financial irregularities, inflated valuations, hidden losses, misrepresented growth projections. The documentation Patricia provided proves critical, revealing how the Whitmores systematically buried bad news while rewarding themselves with extravagant bonuses. "This isn't about revenge," Selina explains to the stunned board members. "It's about transformation. The company employs over 8,000 people across 14 states. Those jobs deserve protection." Her transformation plan unfolds on the projection screen, comprehensive, detailed, preserving jobs while excising the toxic leadership structure. Some board members resist initially, clinging to loyalties forged on golf courses and gentlemen's clubs. "The Whitmore family built this company," protests one elderly board member. "We can't simply discard 70 years of leadership." Selina nods respectfully. "The Whitmores did build something significant, but they've been dismantling it from within for the past decade." She pulls up employee satisfaction metrics, turnover rates, declining market share. The name on the building doesn't matter if the foundation is crumbling. As resistance continues, Marcus steps forward, distributing proxy documents. "Jenkins Capital has secured voting agreements from 6 other major shareholders. Combined with our holdings, we control 53% of voting shares." The room falls silent. They have the votes. Resistance transforms instantly into collaboration. Across town, William paces his penthouse, phone pressed to his ear. "Charles, it's William. I need your help with the situation." The call goes to voicemail. He tries another number. Same result. And another. And another. His father sits in a leather chair, staring at a 40-year-old bottle of scotch. "They're not answering because they already know," he says flatly. "News travels fast in our circles." The family lawyer arrives, his expression grave. "The evidence is substantial," he explains, spreading documents across the dining table. "Financial regulators have been notified about potential securities violations. There's talk of criminal charges." "That's absurd," William snaps. "We've done nothing illegal." The lawyer sighs. "The line between aggressive accounting and fraud is thinner than you might think. And the recording of you discussing hiding assets from potential buyers, that crosses the line." "It was a private conversation." "In a place of business, with recording notices posted in every room standard Whitmore Industries policy that you implemented." The lawyer closes his portfolio. "The irony isn't lost on me." Back at Whitmore Industries the next morning, Selina addresses employees in a series of town halls. She stands on the same factory floor where William had condescended to workers just yesterday. "Change is coming," she announces without preamble. "Not layoffs, not downsizing, but transformation. This company has tremendous potential and dedicated workers. What it's lacked is leadership that respects both." An employee raises her hand. "Why did you let them humiliate you instead of revealing who you were immediately?" The room falls silent, everyone wondering the same thing. Selina considers the question carefully. Power used only for personal vindication accomplishes nothing. I needed to experience what employees here experienced daily. Only then could I understand what truly needed to change. Another employee stands. "I've worked here 18 years, been passed over for promotion 7 times, watched less qualified people advance because they belonged to the right clubs." His voice shakes slightly. Will things really be different now? Yes, Selena promises. Not because I say so, but because we're implementing structural changes that make it impossible for the old system to continue. Promotion criteria will be transparent, pay equity will be mandatory, and every executive's compensation will be tied directly to employee satisfaction metrics. As word spreads through the company, people begin sharing stories. Discrimination, harassment, opportunities denied. Patterns emerge, departments identified as particularly problematic, managers named repeatedly. Selena's team documents everything, building the blueprint for systematic change. By mid-afternoon, William attempts to enter the building through the executive entrance. Security stops him, his access revoked. He demands to see the board, to address his employees. Security remains immovable. "Do you know who I am?" William shouts, his composure finally shattering completely. "Yes, sir," the guard replies calmly. "That's why I can't let you in." Employees gather at windows, watching the scene unfold. Some record it on phones. William Whitmore III, whose family name adorns the building, being escorted to the sidewalk. The same humiliation he inflicted on countless others now returns to him tenfold, witnessed by hundreds. That evening, Selena meets with Patricia Reynolds in her office, formerly William's office, the pretentious hunting trophies and oil paintings already removed. "I'd like you to consider a permanent executive position," Selena says. "Executive Vice President of Operations." Patricia hesitates. "There will be backlash. People loyal to the Whitmores still remain." "Yes," Selena acknowledges. "Change never comes without resistance." She walks to the window, looking out at the New York skyline. "I was 26 when I encountered my first William Whitmore. A different name, different company, same attitude. He explained basic finance to me despite my MBA and CFA, then took credit for my investment strategy." Selena turns back to Patricia. "I could have left, found another firm. Instead, I stayed, built alliances, documented everything, and eventually bought enough shares to join the board. 6 months later, he was gone." "And that became your strategy?" Patricia asks. "Changing the system requires people willing to step into power when given the opportunity." Selena returns to her desk. "The question is, are you ready to step into yours?" Patricia straightens her shoulders. "When do I start?" Meanwhile, William makes increasingly desperate calls to political connections. Senator Goldman, whose photograph with William hung prominently in the hallway, finally answers. "Bill, I can't be associated with this situation," the senator says briskly. "The committee is opening an inquiry into the allegations. My office will be issuing a statement distancing myself from Whitmore Industries." "We've donated millions to your campaigns," William protests. "Which is precisely why I need to create distance. The optics are problematic." The call ends. William stares at his phone in disbelief. The protection he's counted on his entire life, his name, his connections, his privilege, evaporates in real time. His father shuffles into the room, suddenly aged beyond his years. "The club called. Our memberships have been placed under review." He sinks into a chair. "Your grandfather founded that club." For the first time, William confronts the possibility that his actions have consequences that his money can't erase. The realization comes decades too late. Across the financial district, news spreads through whispered conversations and encrypted messages. Executives check their own company cultures, suddenly worried about their own Selena Jenkins hiding in plain sight. Diversity initiatives receive unexpected support from previously resistant board members. Committees examine promotion patterns and pay equity with newfound urgency. What began as one woman's strategic patience becomes an inflection point. Not because Selena Jenkins sought vengeance, but because she leveraged power to create systemic change. 3 days after the boardroom confrontation, the Whitmore Industries sign is removed from the building. Employees gather in the lobby, watching in silence as 70 years of history is dismantled letter by letter. When the last piece comes down, spontaneous applause erupts, not celebrating destruction, but the possibility of something better rising in its place. As William drowns his sorrows at his empty penthouse, his lawyer arrives with worse news. The Senate Subcommittee on Corporate Ethics has issued a subpoena. 1 month later, William Whitmore III sits before the Senate Subcommittee on Corporate Ethics and Responsibility. The wood-paneled chamber feels suffocating, cameras tracking his every movement, microphones amplifying his increasingly strained breathing. His expensive suit, the armor he's worn his entire life, now feels like a costume, ill-fitting and obvious. Directly across from him sits Senator Goldman, the same man who appeared in those photographs in the Whitmore Industries hallway, the same man who accepted his campaign donations and invitations to private hunting retreats. Today, Goldman's face reveals nothing but professional distance. "Mr. Whitmore," Goldman begins, shuffling papers with deliberate slowness, "this committee is investigating allegations of corporate malfeasance, discriminatory practices, and potential securities fraud at Whitmore Industries under your leadership." William adjusts his tie. "Senator, with all due respect, I believe I'm the victim here. What happened was essentially corporate espionage. Jenkins Capital." "We're not here to discuss Jenkins Capital," Goldman interrupts sharply. "We're here to discuss recordings in which you explicitly stated your intention to conceal material information from potential buyers, information that would have affected valuation. Those recordings were obtained without my knowledge or consent." Goldman raises an eyebrow. "According to testimony from your former legal department, recording notices were posted in all Whitmore Industries facilities as standard policy, a policy you personally approved in 2021. William shifts uncomfortably. "The recordings are being taken out of context." "Then perhaps you can provide the proper context for your statement, and I quote, 'They're overpaying by at least $1 billion. Idiots.'" Goldman reads from the transcript without looking up. "That was a private conversation in your company boardroom during business hours regarding a business transaction." Goldman finally looks up. "Would you like me to continue with additional quotes about, let's see, diversity hires and where people like her aren't allowed?" In the gallery, William's father watches, his face ashen. When William attempts to explain how his comments were misinterpreted, his father quietly stands and exits the chamber, unable to witness his son's complete humiliation. Senator Harris, the only woman on the subcommittee, leans forward. "Mr. Whitmore, you stated in your written testimony that you've always supported advancement opportunities for women and minorities at your company. Yet our investigation found that of 27 executive promotions during your tenure, 26 went to white men. Can you explain this discrepancy?" William begins a lengthy explanation about qualifications and pipeline issues. Senator Harris interrupts him repeatedly, not allowing him to finish his practiced responses. When he protests this treatment, she smiles thinly. "Is there something wrong with explaining concepts to someone who clearly doesn't understand them, Mr. Whitmore? I believe that was your approach with Ms. Jenkins, was it not?" The hearing continues for 4 brutal hours. Each time William attempts to portray himself as a victim of corporate espionage, the committee presents more evidence recordings, emails, testimony from former employees. The systematic pattern of discrimination, financial misrepresentation, and toxic leadership becomes increasingly undeniable. As the hearing concludes, Senator Goldman delivers the final blow. "This committee is forwarding our findings to the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Department of Justice for review. We believe there is substantial evidence of securities violations that warrant further investigation." Outside the hearing room, reporters swarm William. Microphones thrust toward his face as he attempts to push through the crowd. "Mr. Whitmore, is it true your membership at Evergreen Country Club has been revoked? What's your response to the class action lawsuit filed by former female executives?" From the periphery, a female reporter steps forward. Her face triggers a vague recognition in William's memory. "Mr. Whitmore, Rebecca Chen from Financial Times. We've met before, I interviewed for a financial analyst position at your company 3 years ago. You told me that pretty girls don't need to understand the numbers. Do you remember that conversation? The question broadcasts live across financial news networks. William's face contorts as he pushes past without answering, his lawyer hurrying him toward the exit. That evening, William returns to his penthouse to find eviction notices taped to the door. Inside, his phone rings constantly, former friends and business associates calling not to offer support, but to distance themselves from the toxic fallout of his downfall. The final humiliation arrives via courier, a formal letter from Evergreen Country Club. His membership, once considered untouchable, revoked for conduct unbecoming a member. As William packs his designer clothes into suitcases, a news alert flashes on his phone. Selena Jenkins named CEO of the Year. 6 months later, the grand ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria buzzes with anticipation. Industry leaders, financial journalists, and government officials gather for the annual Financial Leadership Conference. Center stage stands Selena Jenkins, poised and powerful, addressing the crowd not as an outsider, but as the voice of transformation. Today, I'm pleased to announce the Transparency Initiative, she states, her voice carrying through the hushed room. A coalition of 37 major corporations committing to measurable standards for workplace equity, bias training, and executive diversity. Behind her, the screen displays the initiative's founding companies, including former allies of Whitmore Industries, who now scramble to distance themselves from the scandal and align with the new power structure. Corporate logos flash across the screen, each representing billions in market capitalization, all now publicly committed to systemic change. This isn't charity or public relations, Selena continues. The data is irrefutable. Companies with diverse leadership outperform their peers by 36%. Inclusive workplaces show 60% better decision-making outcomes. This is about competitive advantage in a global marketplace. The newly renamed Jenkins Whitmore Corporation, JWC, leads the coalition, with Patricia Reynolds standing prominently among the executive team, now Executive Vice President of Operations. The transformation extends beyond symbolism. Employee resource groups flourish across JWC divisions. Promotion criteria have been standardized and made transparent. Pay equity audits occur quarterly rather than annually. Across the industry, companies implement similar changes, not from altruism, but survival instinct. No one wants to become the next Whitmore. Recruitment firms report unprecedented demand for diverse executive candidates. Business schools rush to update case studies, using the Whitmore downfall as a warning and the JWC transformation as a blueprint. In a modest office across town, William Whitmore III sits at a standard-issue desk, reviewing entry-level market analyses. The nameplate on his door reads simply, William, the famous surname now a liability rather than an asset. His calls to former contacts go unreturned. Investment firms that once courted his family's business now cite policy restrictions against working with him. On the television mounted in the corner of the break room, Selena accepts the CEO of the Year award. William pauses, coffee cup halfway to his lips, watching her confident stride to the podium. Something crosses his face. Not quite remorse, but recognition. He underestimated her, categorized her, dismissed her based on appearances. The consequences of that miscalculation have rewritten his life completely. The industry landscape continues its rapid evolution. Venture capital firms begin requiring diversity metrics before funding. Institutional investors add workplace culture to their due diligence processes. What began as one woman standing her ground against humiliation transforms into a movement with financial implications too significant to ignore. Competitors who initially mocked JWC's woke policies now scramble to replicate them as the company's stock outperforms market indices by 23%. Analysts attribute the growth to improved decision-making, stronger talent retention, and the brand advantages of leading on social equity. Change ripples through boardrooms across the financial sector. not because it's right, but because it's profitable. In the ruthless calculus of capitalism, Selena has accomplished what moral arguments alone never could, making inclusion a competitive necessity rather than a charitable option. As Selena leaves her office late one evening, her assistant hands her an unexpected letter with a familiar name on the return address. 1 year later, Selena sits in her office at JWC headquarters, formerly Williams' domain, now transformed. Where dark mahogany and hunting trophies once created an atmosphere of intimidation, warm lighting and collaborative spaces foster conversation. The floor-to-ceiling windows remain, but the view has changed, not just the skyline, but the perspective. On her desk rests a letter she's been considering for 3 days. The return address reads, William Whitmore III, the handwriting precise but less confident than she would have expected. After careful consideration, she had agreed to a meeting. William enters precisely on time, the security guard escorting him with professional courtesy. His appearance shocks her momentarily, the designer suits replaced by off-the-rack business casual, the imperious posture now slightly stooped. He looks older, humbled, diminished. "Thank you for seeing me," he begins awkwardly, declining her offer to sit with a shake of his head. "I won't take much of your time." He delivers an apology that sounds rehearsed yet sincere, uncomfortable in its vulnerability. The words themselves matter less than the effort they represent. William Whitmore III has never apologized to anyone for anything in his life until now. When he finishes, Selena remains silent for a moment, studying him. Then she shares a story she didn't tell during their first meeting about her father, who worked as a janitor at a financial firm similar to Whitmore Industries, who wore a suit to work every day only to change into maintenance clothes in the staff bathroom, who was treated with the same dismissive contempt William had shown her. "He taught me that power without compassion becomes cruelty," she explains. "That success measured only in dollars creates poverty of character. My mission has never been about personal advancement, William. It's about ensuring power is exercised with responsibility." William shifts uncomfortably. "Did you orchestrate my downfall from the beginning? Was it all a trap?" Selena shakes her head. "I created an opportunity for you to reveal your true character. The rest you did yourself." She meets his eyes directly. "Power doesn't corrupt people, William. It reveals them." As William prepares to leave, Selena mentions a community business development program JWC is funding in underserved areas. "We need mentors with industry experience," she explains. "People who understand the financial structures but can translate them for new entrepreneurs. It's not forgiveness exactly, not a job offer or absolution, but an opportunity for actual redemption through service rather than empty words." William hesitates, then nods slowly, understanding the gesture for what it is. Not a hand up, but a hand forward. 6 months later, Selena addresses a graduating class at her alma mater. Bright-eyed students in caps and gowns look up at her. Diverse faces filled with ambition and possibility. "Your generation will inherit power structures you didn't create," she tells them. "You'll face moments when standing your ground feels impossible, when every instinct tells you to retreat, to accommodate, to shrink." The auditorium falls silent, hundreds of futures hanging on her words. In those moments, remember that resilience isn't about enduring mistreatment. Strategic patience isn't about accepting injustice. Both are about recognizing when you hold more power than others believe you do, and waiting for precisely the right moment to use it. She pauses, looking out at the sea of faces, the leaders, builders, and transformers of tomorrow. "True power isn't measured by who you can humiliate," she concludes, her voice resonant with conviction, "but by who you can lift up." The applause begins slowly, then builds to a thunderous standing ovation, not just for her words, but for the path she's forged that makes their journeys possible. At Beat Stories, we believe in the power of narrative to change perceptions and inspire action. Subscribe to Beat Stories now and never miss our weekly uploads. Hit that notification bell to be first to watch our latest stories of sweet, satisfying justice. Remember to like this video if Selena's journey resonated with you, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today.
This story shouldn't be the exception. It should be the last time it ever happens. At Beat Stories, we turn one moment of injustice into a call for change. Subscribe to help make that call louder and longer lasting.